What would you do when you have this narcissistic nightmare trying to ruin a film?
Rachel Zegler has faced intense backlash after mocking love stories, trashing the original Snow White, and clashing with her own PR team.
The reason we had Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole.
Now, following brutal box office numbers, she's reportedly blacklisted across major Hollywood studios.
Because this woman is a pig, and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
It's ironic considering Disney fired Gina Carano for far less.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of like, I don't know, vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
Yeah, but they're all lunatic. I mean, how many people in Hollywood, maybe not to this extent.
From the very start, this film had red flags flapping louder than Disney's PR team in panic mode. You'd think with all their resources, they could safely revive a classic fairy tale.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her.
Instead, they handed the keys to Rachel Zegler and watched the whole project go up in flames. Did they ever consider doing a little vulnerability research before hiring someone so controversial?
The other problem is Disney keeps doing this shit.
Yeah.
They don't care how many times they lose money. I mean, this is...
They're going to learn a lesson on this one, though.
I don't think so. I mean, they're projected to lose between $200 and $400 million on this. I mean, they're not going to learn their lesson.
The buzz before the release wasn't excitement, it was skepticism. Rachel had already made herself the center of controversy.
I think it's fair to say that no one can stand the star of this movie
Before the first teaser even dropped, and not in a good way. By the time the movie hit theaters, the damage was done.
Oh my God. And I can only hope.
What does that mean?
That despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Audiences weren't just skeptical, they were actively avoiding the film like it was cursed.
This is what theaters look like across the world, and it just keeps getting worse. The memes. Let's say that you were in a Hollywood movie, and the trailer for that movie dropped on YouTube, and it instantly became the #1 most downvoted trailer in the history of the platform.
Opening weekend was a complete disaster, with the domestic box office pulling in a pitiful $42.2 million.
Isn't this the one where they actually took the dwarves out of the 7 dwarves?
Yes, we have CGI dwarves now.
Okay, yeah, because little people didn't need jobs either.
Yeah.
But it's
Peter Dinklage wanted the whole field to himself. Went out there and was like,
the ladder down
this
behind
is
him.
insulting.
Yeah.
Globally, it didn't even crack $100 million, totaling just $86 million.
It's demeaning for them to have those roles. He acted as a dwarf on like the most popular show on TV for 10 years, made millions of dollars. Now he's like, how dare people hire dwarves to act as dwarfs? It's ridiculous.
That's the worst performance ever for a Disney live-action remake. Disney keeps making these mistakes, and they don't seem to learn from them.
She continued celebrating herself by posting that she's in the #1 movie in the world, which is a remarkable thing to post when you are the laughingstock of an entire industry. This is what narcissism looks like. Narcissism for 200.
They're projected to lose between $200 and $400 million on this one, and it's breaking records for all the wrong reasons. It's bad when your movie performs worse than Dumbo.
She talks some smack about the original animated classic, calling the prince a stalker and saying that this new Snow White would be very different. Many people interpreted this as, ooh, Disney's gone woke.
Disney and their media defenders tried to spin it, claiming it would have legs, but this thing had legs like Bambi on ice.
How it was so outdated and how Rachel Zegler disrespected the original and a classic from Walt Disney, something that completely saved Disney and changed the company and changed animation in general.
The audience simply wasn't buying what Rachel was selling, and a big part of that was her own ego, which could have sunk the entire ship.
Because Rachel Zegler is a PR nightmare.
Let's rewind to the casting. Rachel was chosen based on her breakout role in West Side Story, but from the moment her casting was announced, fans were scratching their heads.
The movie was absolutely terrible. It's not the single worst movie I've ever seen, but in every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original.
The trailers didn't help. They became the most downvoted in YouTube history, not because of her talent, but because of her comments.
This is truly, like, she has to go. I'm sorry, Disney. She has to go.
She disrespected the original story before filming even began. When Peter Dinklage called the dwarfs offensive,
I know some people like this movie. Some people are stupid. Oops! Oops!
Disney folded and replaced them with CGI forest creatures, abandoning a key part of the original story.
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
This decision was a huge misstep, and it was demeaning to the actors who could have played those roles.
I mean, older movies in the same franchise, the canon story, I guess?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I feel like they would have had better control.
Behind the scenes, Rachel was reportedly difficult to work with, requiring a dedicated media handler, essentially a babysitter, to manage her public appearances.
This movie was like you took the original Snow White and just put everything through this filter. So from the casting to the class politics, it all was just bad.
Imagine getting paid millions to be the face of a global franchise and needing someone to supervise your every word.
I paid nothing to watch the trailer, but I want my money.
In interviews, Rachel took every opportunity to insult the film. She called the original Snow White creepy and outdated.
Snow White limps to alarming $42.2 million domestic opening and only $86 million globally. This was the news after the first weekend at the box office.
And mocked the idea of love stories altogether. This wasn't just a PR blunder, it was a full-blown meltdown.
Box office upset. Blue-collar drama A Working Man declares victory over Snow White. Yes, Jason Statham, A Working Man, just beat Snow White.
The movie was terrible and audiences wanted to like it, but Rachel treated the role like a joke. Her arrogance was next level. She even claimed she deserved to be paid for every hour the movie was streamed.
And then we saw a flurry of other things come out. Disney may be trying to throw Rachel Zegler under the bus a little bit. Disney absolutely deserves a lot of the blame, but so does Rachel Zegler. Let's not get it wrong.
Which fans saw as bratty and entitled. This wasn't confidence, it was delusion. The movie was dead on arrival, and by the time it was released, it was already a disaster.
We've seen the audience scores. One of the worst ratings we've seen in history on IMDb, with Snow White sitting at a 1.5 out of 10. But would it have a good hold at the box office? The media was telling us maybe this can have great legs. People are going to go watch it. We promise. You'll see.
The trailer had poisoned the well, and audiences braced for impact. The box office collapse continued, with a brutal 66.4% drop in its second weekend.
I love her, and her superpower is her heart. It's nothing supernatural. It's something that all of us have. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy Snow White. Thank you, guys.
I'm sorry. That was acting.
Bringing in just $15.2 million. To add insult to injury, a modest indie film called A Working Man overtook Snow White in its second week.
She was also just a spoiled, entitled, narcissistic brat.
This was a low-budget drama with no CGI goblins and zero singing birds, yet it outperformed Disney's overcooked cash grab.
But I was basically the only person in the theater. Very few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad.
Disney may be trying to throw Rachel Zegler under the bus, but they deserve blame too. The comparisons to The Marvels are inevitable, but Snow White might actually be worse.
There's a reason why the public has shifted. If you can't avoid this movie, you absolutely should, because it's absolute trash.
Disney, the empire of animation, is now failing loudly. The audience scores are dismal, with Snow White sitting at a 1.5 out of 10 on IMDb.
And people still line up to see her.
Oh my God.
And I can only hope.
What does that mean?
That despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
the media kept insisting it would have a good hold at the box office, but Rachel's social media antics only made things worse. In one of the most out-of-touch moments in film history,
she's Israeli, and I think served in the IDF.
She posted a video of herself sitting alone in a movie theater, acting like it was a flex.
They flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, could you please take that down? Because we understand you can have your political views, but those aren't really helpful while you're trying to build an audience for a movie.
She even called Snow White the #1 movie in the world, while audiences dragged her for peak narcissism. Instead of showing humility, she doubled down, posting smug updates and celebrating herself.
Maybe not, maybe just take the tweet down. And she wouldn't. And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time and make sure she didn't continue shitting on Snow White.
The phrase, "don't go full Zegler," started circulating online, turning her crash and burn into a cautionary tale for future actors. When the smoke cleared, reports surfaced that Rachel had been quietly dropped from major upcoming projects, including a vocal cameo in Toy Story 5.
Yesterday, admitting it all. The Variety report being like, of course, what would you do when you have this narcissistic nightmare trying to ruin a film that you've put hundreds of millions of dollars into, that's employing all these working class people? She refused to keep her fat mouth shut. It was a great...
and a lead role in the Pirates of the Caribbean reboot. Disney took one look at the wreckage of Snow White and decided they were done. Rachel's political tweets didn't help either. Right after her casting was announced, she tweeted "Free Palestine," completely disregarding the fact that her co-star, Gal Gadot, is Israeli and a former IDF soldier.
Was it Variety talking about how they've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, "Yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her."
This tone-deaf move led to death threats directed at Gal, while Rachel got to virtue signal without facing the consequences. Disney executives scrambled to manage the fallout, even flying out a top executive to ask Rachel to delete the tweet. She refused, showing a complete lack of awareness about the impact of her words. The studio wasn't mad about her views, they were furious that she was dragging their brand through the mud.
He has all kinds of problems that could be pinned partly on the producer. Like the producer did not do a good job. Nobody who produced this movie did a good job.
Insiders began calling her a narcissistic nightmare, and it became clear that Disney had been in damage control mode since the day they cast her. Now, even Spielberg, who gave Rachel her big break, reportedly wants nothing to do with her. Other big names in Hollywood are quietly blacklisting her.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it. You didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White. Right. You should shut up and do the...
Not because of her politics, but because of her uncontrollable mouth. Rachel Zegler has become the kind of actor casting directors avoid like the plague. Her career isn't just stalled, it's a textbook example of what not to do in Hollywood. She's now a case study in how to ruin your shot in under a year.
So the movie had all kinds of problems creatively and conceptually, but there's no doubt that she drove the final nail into this movie's coffin. She probably drove the final 2 or 3 nails into the coffin.
This was supposed to be her Cinderella moment, but instead, it turned into a cautionary tale. What could have been a career-defining performance became a career-destroying one. Snow White is more than just one bad movie. It symbolizes Disney's recent failures, tone-deaf casting, political distractions, and an obsession with messaging over storytelling. They gave us a princess with a crown made of smugness and a Twitter feed full of PR landmines. Critics have made it clear this wasn't just a flop due to bad writing or visuals. It bombed because the lead actress alienated the audience, disrespected the legacy and acted like she was doing everyone a favor by showing up. Disney didn't just lose money, they lost trust and credibility. In a world where studios need audience loyalty more than ever, that kind of loss is worse than any box office stat. Will Rachel Zegler make a comeback? Hollywood loves a redemption arc, especially one that comes with tears and a scripted apology. But right now, she's toxic. No one is rushing to work with her, and the damage she's done is historic. One thing is for sure, Snow White deserved better, and so did the audience. Rachel Zegler's fairy tale turned into a full-blown nightmare. Subscribe for more Hollywood meltdowns and epic career crashes.